Hello, so this is Sandy from Sandy's Palette, also a moderator with Junk Journaling World. And this is just the tips and tricks from my tutorial regarding what is a signature. That tutorial was mainly explaining to people what a signature actually is, and a few elements regarding the signature, how they're sewn into books, and then we replicate that bookbinding process in attaching signatures into a journal. I covered the number of signatures depends on what type of journal you're making, and what your cover is, and how much space in a spine, especially if you're using a cover of a book, that it's important to kind of predetermine what kind of papers you're going to be using and to figure out what is going to fit into that spine. When I first started doing junk journaling, and I really only had YouTubes to reference, if there were Facebook groups, I wasn't aware of them. But so a lot of things I learned from my own mistakes, as I'm sure many of you have as well, or have learned from watching some YouTubers. A lot of them say the number of pages they put in is, generally like 10 to 14. And my advice to people when it comes to that, that formula doesn't always work for me. Part of my, let's say, scraps or junk is used to be a scrapbooker. Still am. Unfortunately, I've got the junk journal junkie, junkaholic. When I started doing them, I'm just I don't say obsessed with them, but having so much fun with them that I've fallen behind a lot in my scrapbooking. Anyway, so a lot of those papers, they're double-sided, and even if they're not, they're a lot thicker paper than what the coffee dyed are, or like I use this tan paper. And as you know, paper comes in all different thicknesses, weights, however you want to say it. When I originally started doing them, I was using copy paper, but then when I would stamp on the copy paper, because I do like some of the plain pages for journaling to add a little something, it kind of bled through. So I try to go with a little bit thicker paper there. Oh, and I had also told them that there's other things that we add into signatures, such as doilies and envelopes, glassine bags, paper bags. There's such a vast amount of variety, which also allows us to be as creative as we want. But we need to think about that when we're thinking about how thick the signature is going to be, and therefore how many pages, quote unquote, we're putting in there. So unless a journal specifically is for a swap, where they designate the size of the journal, how many signatures, how many pages, and then pockets and journal cards and tags must be included. I no longer put and sew my signatures in to my spine, for the most part, until I've gotten it pretty well, everything already on it, all my ephemera, any other things that I'm going to do to the pages, especially if I'm stamping or things of that nature. And later in this series of signatures, I will be going through some of the things that I do to adorn those pages. But my main point was, do what works best for you. And I found that by doing this, my first several journals, I can't even call them chunky monkeys. Um, they're more gator mouth, right? And especially on the bottom part where, most of my pockets and that would, and then adding clusters and things of that nature, the bulk of the items go. So now I've learned, there are other things that you can do to the top of the page, and work that so it kind of balances out a little bit. Um, also like prep work to the signature, and I'm going to get into that more as the series for signatures and making them progresses. So my main tip and trick for what is a signature is, as far as how many pages go in a signature, that's going to be based on your best judgment. Like I said, I don't sew mine in. I know the most exciting part of doing the journal is planning the cover and doing the cover. I still do that, but I because I want to pick out of my papers that I'm using what I want to use for my cover. I don't want to put it in the journal and then later think, oh gosh, I wanted that one for, I should have used that for the cover. So I will kind of design my cover. I just don't glue anything down. I take a picture of it and I put all those elements aside. But back to the signatures, I will get my pages together. Um, and then as I start filling it, see and make sure that those signatures still will fit into my journal flushly. Too many times I've had to go back to a journal and I was making 3 signatures, I think is, kind of what, I don't know if it was recommended or at that time. And I would always have to end up taking out the middle signature because it would just be too thick. And even then, they still would be a little gator, not a little, but, a gator mouth kind of thing. So my best advice on and tips on signatures is do the number of pages based on the type of papers that you're working with or other like doilies and things like that that you plan on putting in. The ephemera that you're planning on either making or have made and are going to put in. And then don't sew your signatures in until you're pretty sure that you're where you want to be, as far as your signatures are set. Sometimes I just place them on there. I don't actually attach them because it is a little bit easier to sew the signatures in without all the ephemera and all that attached. But I at least place it on the page and then we'll fold it and then see how it fits in. If I can get two signatures in there. If they're, how big is the gator mouth, if it is at all. And then if, of course, the closure keeps it down and keeps it flat, then that's okay. But that really doesn't leave much for the recipient, unless it's, of course, me, and then I'm fine with it. But if they're adding pictures or other things into their journal, you may want to accommodate for that as well. So that was my main tip. Again, I just went through the basics of what a signature was. And main tip, I no longer sew my signatures into my journal until I have them pretty complete. And then I sew them in after. And that helps me with the challenge of getting gator mouth because it definitely was a challenge. I haven't mastered it yet. I won't say that. But I'm pretty close, and I found that helps me a lot. Okay? So that's all I have for this from this tutorial. There's a lot more to come in the signature series. So hopefully you can join some of those. Unless, it's not just about building the signature. It's things that I do to the signature or in the signature to like I said, even just the journaling pages, like the coffee dyed pages. there's things like that. I don't like putting a heavy piece of ephemera on that. If it's lightweight, it's going to rip and it's going to tear. I feel more comfortable doing that on the pattern paper. And I've learned too with making ephemera and that. Again, I'm using leftover scrapbooking paper, so the higher quality papers are thicker. And sometimes they're just make a really thick, especially if you're doing like a 3 or 4 pocket type of piece of ephemera, it really adds a lot of thickness. So I've been trying to use thinner paper when it comes to that. And again, leaving more of the uh, thicker scrapbooking paper for the pages. And I don't get hung up on how many pages per se that are in there. I do what works best for me and best for whatever my book journal cover is going to be. All right. Have a great day. Hopefully you can join us again next week for Thursday's tips, tricks, and tutorials. Thank you.